from the winter storm. Plus, the Supreme Court says Trump has to turn over his tax returns. This is OU Nightly.
Hello and thanks for joining us for OU Nightly. I'm Kaitlyn Deggs.
And I'm Abbi Bennett. We begin with a big day for Oklahoma when it comes to COVID vaccinations.
Today is the first day that K-12 teachers are eligible for the vaccines.
That's along with all Oklahomans over 18 who have high-risk conditions. OU Nightly's Nirali Jayswal is live with more on today's vaccination event.
The historic winter storm shut down COVID vaccinations for a week. Officials are scrambling to catch up. With many vaccination appointments getting canceled, some were lucky enough to get theirs today. A new large group of people are now eligible to get the vaccine, which consists of teachers and people with pre-existing conditions.
This is a great step in the right direction to keep schools open. We are able to vaccinate over 4,000 teachers today, and that is not only in Cleveland County, it's all over the state. So we are really excited to be able to help the education system by taking care of their teachers so that they can take care of our kids.
For many people, it was an exciting time. They were happy and relieved to get their vaccine after waiting patiently for a long time.
I was so excited, and you know, a little bit of stick for long-term success is great.
Although a large amount of people are now eligible, officials are still staying alert for those 65 and older to get their vaccines. For the vaccinations that were canceled, healthcare officials have rescheduled the appointments, and patients should stay aware of any updates through email or Facebook. With the help of volunteers and healthcare officials, roughly 10,000 people were fortunate to get their vaccines today. Nirali Jayswal, OU Nightly.
The spread of COVID-19 appears to be slowing down across Oklahoma. The Oklahoma State Department of Health is reporting 499 new cases in the state today. These new cases bring the total number of cases in Oklahoma to 419,853. In addition to the new cases, the state is reporting 22 new COVID deaths. The total death toll for the state currently sits at 4,203.
The United States has just crossed another milestone in the COVID-19 pandemic. The nation's COVID death toll passed 500,000 deaths today. The United States is the global leader in coronavirus-related deaths. Today, Congress is mourning those lost during the pandemic.
In remembrance of more than 500,000 Americans who've passed away from the COVID-19 virus.
This newest milestone comes as the vaccinations rollout speeds up. We're recovering from another record breaker, the bitter winter weather last week.
It's sure nice to see the sun again. Nash Rhodes joins us now. Nash, it's going to take a while for everyone to get over this.
Yeah, it is going to take just a little bit longer as temperatures continue to warm to start to get back into that more spring feel. Now, spring is a little ways in the distance, but in the meantime, we've still got some snow on the ground. This is from campus earlier, just in front of the physics building. Decent amount of snowfall, mainly in the shade. And as the temperatures continue to rise, we'll slowly start to see that snow completely melt, if not today, into tomorrow. As we take a sneak peek at tomorrow's highs, temperatures in the 70s across all of the state. Elk City just getting into the upper 60s, but we are on quite the warming trend. Now, I will say, don't get used to these warm temperatures because we do have a cool down coming up. I'll let you know just where and when later on in the newscast.
Millions of Texans are struggling to recover tonight after last week's bitter winter blast. At last check, 8.8 million residents remain under a boil order for their water. The issue is so many pipes in homes, businesses, and water treatment plants were frozen and burst.
Buy a lot of bottled water. Luckily, we had boiled some pots of water already, or like filled up some pots to boil. We had filled up our bathtub with water, so we were able to flush toilets for a while. And then there was a few days after we hadn't had it for about 2 days, we went to my parents so we could have showers and bathe my child. So
Texas is bringing in plumbers from out of state to help with repairs.
Oklahomans also suffered impacts of the winter storm, although not as widespread as Texas. Many houses lost power and water across the state, while the ones that didn't are left worrying about facing abnormally high utility bills. Governor Stitt spoke with President Biden about federal assistance for utility bills, and the president did approve federal disaster assistance for Oklahoma.
And the Supreme Court has a ruling on Trump's tax returns. Kolby has that story and the rest of today's headlines from around the world.
Yeah, that's right, Abby. The Supreme Court is allowing Trump's tax returns to be released to prosecutors. The release of this information is a big blow to the Trump legal team, even though it's still protected from public disclosure. In the past, Trump has called the subpoena the greatest political witch hunt in the history of our country. Trump's personal lawyers may continue to fight the case, but his accounting firm releasing the returns will likely bring an end to the dispute. And in the current administration, President Biden's nominee for Attorney General is attending his first day of confirmation hearings. Merrick Garland promised to keep politics out of the Department of Justice, stating that he will not be the president's lawyer, but the United States lawyer. Garland has served as chief judge in the U.S. Court of Appeals and also led the Justice Department investigation into the Oklahoma City bombing in 1995. And Governor Andrew Cuomo says that theaters in New York City can reopen to 25% capacity on March 5th. The rest of the state's theaters opened back in October, and now that COVID cases in the city are falling, the theaters are playing catch-up with the rest of the state. Theaters that reopen will be required to follow strict guidelines past the usual CDC recommendations. Some of these rules include having an advanced air filtration system and only allowing 50 people per screen. And with a big film market like New York City reopening, we may soon see more dates set for film releases. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you, Kolby. Coming up, NASA makes history with today's video release from Mars. These videos are providing a new perspective on the planet.
Plus, a nonprofit in Texas saves endangered species' lives from the freezing temperatures when we return.
NASA releases the first ever video of a rover landing on Mars. Deyton has that story and more in today's Earth Report.
Today, NASA unveiled the first ever video and audio of its Perseverance rover landing on Mars. For the first time in history, we can see multiple perspectives of what it looks like to touch down on the red planet. To watch the full video and keep up with the newest resident on Mars, visit mars.nasa.gov. Many Houston residents remain without water after last week's winter storm. Local officials and volunteers in the Houston area have set up free food and water distribution sites to those in need.
I mean, we're starting to turn the corner a little bit, but the reality is as you can see, there are a lot of people that are in need of water. And I was thinking just this morning, even once the boil water notice is lifted, because people have there's so many busted pipes, they will still need water, you know, until they get their homes repaired.
If you do have access to water, experts suggest you boil it before using. And a nonprofit in South Padre Island, Sea Turtle Inc. has rescued nearly 5,000 sea turtles along the Texas coast after last week's freeze. Unlike other sea animals, sea turtles are unable to survive in cold temperatures and can be found cold stunned on shorelines when temperatures drop. Staff and volunteers started to release the previously stunned turtles into the Gulf of Mexico starting yesterday. And it's National Walk Your Dog Day, so be sure to take advantage of this beautiful weather if you're here in Norman and get outside. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Deyton. It definitely is beautiful outside, so maybe I will see some dogs walking now.
Maybe you will, honestly.
A former bachelorette who has come forward about the racism that exists in the Bachelorette franchise will be on Zoom for a Q&A. All OU students will be given the chance to hear from former bachelorette this Thursday.
And it does feel amazing outside. But Nash, will this weather continue into next weekend?
Unfortunately not. I'll let you know when it's going to get cold coming right up. Welcome back to OU Nightly on what has been a beautiful Monday afternoon thus far. Yesterday, we had lots of snowfall blanketing the Oklahoma City skyline and all the way across the grass, but that has all pretty much melted, as you see here on our skyline camera. So our temperatures are now working into the 60s. Currently 63 degrees here in Oklahoma City, with those winds now soaring out of the southwest at about 17 miles per hour. Now, across the entire region, we are all pretty much in the 60s. Miami, the coolest of the bunch, at 59 degrees, but for the rest of us, Norman, Lawton, even up to 66 degrees as we just continue a warming trend. And to give you an idea of just how warm it's getting, here's the 24-hour temperature change. Here in Norman, 8 degrees warmer than we were this time yesterday. And as we work up into the Panhandle, Guyman and Woodward, 13 degrees above where we were just 24 hours ago, and we will continue this warming trend well into tomorrow. Tonight, we will drop into the mid to lower 30s as we will sit right around average for this time of year, which is 35 degrees, but that is about all that will stay in terms of average, because come tomorrow, we'll have our next weather maker make its way into Oklahoma. This will be a low pressure system further to our north and west that will shift the winds and bring much warm and moist air up from the south and particularly the Gulf of Mexico, and that will fuel our warm temperatures tomorrow. I'm talking temperatures in the 70s across much of central and southern Oklahoma, some places getting up into the upper 60s. It will be almost 20 degrees above average for this time of year. Now, once this system eventually makes its way into the southern portion of our state, you will see these winds start to shift out of the north, now bringing in much cooler and dry air from the north. That'll drop our temperatures down quite a bit and have substantial impacts on our highs for the next few days. And here's what I'm talking about as we take a look at our future trends. We'll be at 71 degrees tomorrow here in Norman for a high, but we will quickly drop down to 52 degrees on Wednesday, even as low as 45 degrees on Thursday, as we do have our next big hit of cold weather that will start to make its way here on Wednesday evening. Now, I do want to show you, we do have rain chances in the forecast. This is for Thursday night as our lows finally start to drop down into the lower 30s, and we could see some freezing rain and scattered rain chances, particularly in southwestern Oklahoma. Now, this is about a 40% chance for us here in Norman, but other than that, we will remain mostly dry throughout much of the upcoming week and into next week. As we take a look at the temperatures, we drop down to 52 degrees on Wednesday, beginning our fall to the 40s, and it's not until Friday that we slowly start to rebound our temperatures back up into the 60s by Sunday, and we'll keep that warm trend into the upcoming work week.
Thank you, Nash. Man, it's a lot of ups and downs for sure. OU Speakers Bureau is preparing to have former Bachelorette Rachel Lindsay speak to OU students about her life as a broadcaster, lawyer, and being an advocate for inclusion. Lindsay, who has recently been vocal in the news about the racism that exists within the Bachelor franchise, will be speaking to students this Thursday over Zoom.
It's going to be a Q&A, so we had people submit questions, and it's kind of a variety. So we have some questions about the Bachelorette, and then we have some questions about her personal life, her career, and her marriage.
Students, but if you are interested, the student organization is selling raffle tickets for a chance to meet Lindsay. All money goes directly to OU Dance Marathon. You can learn more about the event by checking out CAC Speaky Bee on Instagram.
And tons of OU sports are in action. OU baseball is looking live right now after their second game of the season. And with this weather, I definitely want to go out and watch a baseball game.
Me too, for sure.
Katie Arata joins us now with what's happening in the sports world.
Baseball is back, and so are we. The Sooners just took home the first win of the season this afternoon. We'll have all the details when OU Nightly returns. Welcome back to OU Nightly. Now is a busy weekend in sports. Let's slide in. OU baseball's team opened their season yesterday at home in Norman, playing the Omaha Mavericks. They dropped yesterday's game, but they took the diamond today and got an 8-5 victory over the Mavs. OU Nightly's Alyse Jones is live outside of L. Dale Mitchell Ballpark with more details on the Sooners' big win. Alyse?
This was a big game for the Sooners as they were looking to bounce back after yesterday's loss versus Omaha, and they did it with an 8-5 victory. The pitchers wanted revenge, and they got it with redshirt freshman Jake Bennett's career-high 10 strikeouts. By the middle of the 7th inning, the pitchers had retired 12 of the last 13 batters. It was in the 8th inning that Connor McKenna's grand slam sealed the deal for the Sooners as they took home the 8-5 victory. Reporting from Elldale Mitchell Park, Alyse Jones, OU Nightly.
Thanks, Alyse. And it looks like the men's basketball team has finally broken their 9-game losing streak in Ames. Austin Reeves and the gang secured the long-awaited win on Saturday. OU started the first half strong with a 21-point lead before halftime, but after the break, the Cyclones came out hot, storming back to take a 1-point lead. Yet the Sooners stood sturdy against the Cyclones, eventually holding them off for the road win.
We got off to a great start and, widened it out for much of the first half. And then, the flip was switched at halftime. They come out and make a couple shots, and they really get the momentum and make it a big-time tough battle the rest of the way.
Now women's basketball suffered a tough 77-66 loss against the number 7 Baylor Bears on Saturday. The Sooners were neck and neck until the Bears took the lead right at halftime. The Sooners are looking for a comeback win when they face TCU on Wednesday at 7. OU softball remains untouchable after winning their first 3 games. The Sooners opened the season yesterday to a doubleheader in Houston. OU outscored the Cougars 12-5 in Game 1 with Mackenzie Donahue's solo shot ending the suffering for the Cougars in the 6th inning. Game 2 did not come as easy for the Sooners, but they took home the dub, winning 5-3. As for today, the Sooners beat Tarleton State 13-0 in just 5 innings. And it's no surprise the women's gymnastic team is back in top 3 after scoring 197.475 at the North Carolina State Quad Meet on Friday. Oklahoma competes next against Denver, Linwood, and Texas Women's University this Friday at the Lloyd Noble Center. And after a rowdy bar fight, OU redshirt senior wide receiver Spencer Jones nearly lost his left eye. Jones needed a 4-hour operation to restructure his orbital bone. His doctors say Jones is remarkably lucky to not lose his eye and that it will take weeks for him to fully recover. The Thunder stormed into Cleveland on Sunday, beating the Cavaliers 117-101. Guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander followed through on his promise to perform better after Friday's game against the Bucks, finishing the game with a total of 31 points and 9 assists. The Thunder are back in Oklahoma City and will have to be ready for some heat tonight. Tip-off against Miami is set for 8 p.m. That's it for sports, but it is Monday, so make sure to tune in to Sooner Sports Pad tonight at 7:30 on Fox Sports Oklahoma. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Katie.
Man, that fight was something else. I saw it this morning on Twitter, and I was really wondering if he was going to be okay after that.
I know,
for sure.
He's definitely lucky he didn't lose his eye. That would be really rough.
I agree. And now, Tennessee does not see snow quite often, but a family sure did make the most of it. Straight ahead on OU Nightly.
I'm Addie Crawford at the OU Nightly Update Desk. Over 64 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine have been administered in the United States. That's about 1.1 million more administered doses than reported yesterday. Now more than 44 million people have received at least the first dose of the vaccine, and about 19 million have received both doses. That's it for now. Back to you in the studio.
Now, millions were forced to stay at home during last week's winter storms, but one family in Tennessee made the most of it with their rather unusual pet.
Now, you might have seen pictures of dogs and cats in the snow, but did you see a chicken? A pet chicken named Donut got to show off his sledding skills last week. Somehow the stress of the week just melts away, all thanks to a chicken on a sled.
That's the cutest thing I've seen all day, that's for sure. And now, Nash, before we close out, do you have any last updates for us on the weather this week, this weekend?
Yeah, it is not going to look like that video you just saw of Tennessee. We're not going to see any snowfall in the next week, so that's some good news for us as we continue a nice warming trend. Now, if you've lived in Oklahoma long enough, you know, hey, it is very windy all the time, but we're going to see some particularly strong wind gusts over the next few days. Starting today, about 20-mile-per-hour wind gusts as you're heading out the door this evening. We'll keep those strong wind gusts all the way through Wednesday before they drop down to about a 15-mile-per-hour wind gust on Thursday, and that's important because it is going to get fairly cold on Wednesday as well. So one last look at the 7-day forecast. Now tomorrow we heat up to 70 degrees, which is about 20 degrees above where we would typically be for this time of year, and we will only stay there for Tuesday before slowly dropping into the 40s by Thursday, and then we will begin a warming trend once again as we work into the weekend, topping off at 62 degrees on Sunday and keeping those 60-degree temperatures into the upcoming work week. But one thing I do want to direct your attention to are these rain chances. We have a 40% chance of rain on Thursday. That could be either regular rain or freezing rain. As you see, our lows drop down to the lower 30s, bottoming out at 31 and 32 degrees, both on Wednesday and Thursday night. But it's not until next week that we start to enter a more active weather pattern where Monday we could see some scattered showers and thunderstorms as well as on Sunday. So if you want to get some outdoor plans done, make sure to knock them out on Tuesday before we start to get into a more active weather pattern.
Thanks for tuning in to OU Nightly. We're live every weekday from Gaylord Hall at the campus of the University of Oklahoma.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night, live at 4:30. Good night.